strapping. Feel the hum in your hands. This is 4D. Heat on my palms, grip locked, heart racing. Shoes hit the pedal, whole room shaking. Jersey on my back, hair pulled low and blazing. Every turn I take, got the ghosts I'm chasing. 4D in my veins, feel that fire when I play, when I move, when I break, when I bang through the lane. 4D on my skin, when I lose, when I win, I'm alive in the light of the game I'm in. 4D, 4D, 4D. It's different. Yeah, that's winning. Stamped on the wheel like a crest. I don't just play, I live it. Every stitch says get it. From the couch to the checkered, I'm the storm when I wear it. 4D in my veins.
Hello everyone and welcome to the P1 Broadcasting Channel. You've got Murph, you've got Andrew Wood, and you know what that means on a Tuesday night. It's the Area 51 IndyCar Series, and tonight, Andrew, we are at one of your favorite places, one of your team's favorite places. It's Richmond, baby.
That's right. We're at the short track of Richmond. Just definitely one of those tracks that's going to be a little bit different for these guys to handle tonight. We're used to these faster ovals that we've raced for the last few weeks, and now we're at a short oval where it's going to be all about the patience, all about trying to just get that lower line as best you can and wrap that bottom. So I'm very much looking forward to it.
You can wrap that bottom. There is a usable second groove here, especially through turns 3 and 4. Trouble area is going to be the exit of turn number 2. The wall over there acts like it wants to jump up and smack you coming off the corner. It's also really easy to get big loose. And this is a place where everything happens really, really fast, my friends. Eddie Cheever once said that racing here was kind of like driving a fighter jet inside of a gymnasium. Not too far off.
Yeah, it almost seems like you never really calm down when you're at a track like this. You are straightening the wheel out, and next thing you know, you're setting up for the next corner already. So one thing that really always gets me here is just that turn 2 wall, like you were mentioning. It jumps out and it grabs you. And another thing there is there's just a little bit of a bump right where the tunnel is underneath the track. So you also have to set the car up so that you're going straight out of the corner so that you don't get sucked up into that wall. It's definitely, you have to have a knack for it for sure. And you feel like you have it maybe 19 out of 20 laps, and then that one lap you get a little bit loose and you don't really necessarily know what you have to do to maintain that straight line. So I think that's something to watch out for tonight with these guys, is how they come off turn 2.
Speaking of coming off of turn 2, you just saw it. Our good friend and fellow American Chris Stouffer just smacked the turn 2 wall on his qualifying lap. So Stouffer is going to have another go. The track record here, we're not going to get close to that tonight. It is held by Sam Hornish Jr. 15.9638. on the time. Sam Hornish Jr. in 2004. That, of course, was right after a repave. Care to take a guess at what the Cup record is here, Andrew?
21, I'll say.
21.849 is what the Cupsters run here. Yeah. It's a little bit slower, and you kind of get a sense for why Eddie Cheever said that it was like running a jet fighter in a gymnasium. It is so fast, so much so that you have some drivers, Andrew, that in the sim will complain about dizziness here, just because you are turning so very much, especially if they're in VR. That's going to be kind of a challenge riding along with Jim Herrick. His first lap in at 17.366, good enough for ninth quick. We do have 16 cars here, so a nice field has arrived for this one. Jim is staying high on his qualification laps. Herrick through turns 3 and 4. He'll stop the watch on his second lap at 17.091, and there's not a lot of spread between these top cars. 16,786, 160.281 miles an hour is the fastest lap right now. Andrew, there's only 0.3 of a difference in the top 10.
Yeah, I was watching actually Ryan Kelly do his lap there. He kept it very, very high through his warm-up lap and then wrapped that bottom beautifully and put himself right up towards the front. So he is going to start as pole provisionally right now. Still have a few cars out there on track trying to make it work, but what a really, really nice lap by Ryan Kelly there. He just decided to warm those tires up nicely along the wall and managed to find a way to just get as much speed as you can down the straightaways and wrap that bottom nicely to put himself right on the shortest line around the track, basically, and got that car hooked up really well. So I think Ryan Kelly is going to be your pole sitter tonight.
Yeah, I don't think anybody else is going to go out, Andrew. Joseph Morales, Kurt Rose, they are on the pit lane, not making a move out. Everybody else is exhausted their 2 qualifying laps, and so we are not going to see any other qualifiers. We are looking at a provisional grid of 16 cars, and we're going to get you those here momentarily. On the pole with a lap of 154.131 miles an hour, it's going to be Ryan Kelly. Larry Yingling. Say that 3 times fast, Andrew Wood. He's going to start from the outside pole. Richie Hearn ran 7th here in the 2002 edition of the IndyCar race. He'll go from 3rd. Gary Lovern will roll 4th. Wayne Campbell 5th. Kyle Clintmore 6th. Jeff Heisong, Chris Stouffer, Matty Wagner, and Nicholas Stockner going to round out your top 10. In 11th, it's Jim Herrick, then Bill Burrell, Craig Forsyth, Frank Irwin Jr., Joseph Morales, and Kurt Rose make up your 16-car starting field.
Believe we have 2 warm-up laps at Richmond here, so we're not going to go green right away as we come through start finish the first time around, but it's going to just amp up the anticipation for all these drivers. It's very, very hard to make a pass here. All the passing is likely going to be done in the first couple laps until the tires start to fall off a bit. So we'll see these drivers really try and push it on the start of the race. I think whoever gets to the bottom and is able to wrap that bottom is going to prevail pretty much. So those inside line drivers really are looking for a really good start for everyone that's in front of them. And let's see what happens here in the first few laps. And hopefully we get off to a nice start.
Hopefully we do. Don't let the 170 laps up on the scoreboard fool you. If you're a fan out there and you're thinking, man, these guys are going to be here until 3 in the morning, this is going to go by very, very quick. 4 laps a minute is about what they're going to run. It is not going to take very long to run 170 laps. And talking with some of the guys, they are worried about the looseness of the automobile, especially coming off these corners. So we'll want to watch out for that. And they think anywhere between 55 and 70 laps is going to be the fuel. The pace car is away, and as we've seen quite a bit of, Andrew, they're going to let the pace car get quite a bit of a lead out there. The pace car almost a half a lap ahead of these drivers. This guy, 3118, says, "Go Sox." I don't know if that's a Red Sox or a White Sox, but both those teams got some work to do, Andrew Wood. The Red Sox and the Chicago White Sox both in the cellar of their respective divisions in the American League as of this morning.
You know, I think baseball season just started pretty much here, Murph, so I think we got plenty of time to sort this out.
If you say so, I'd rather be a game or two ahead right now than I would be a game or two behind. That's for doggone sure. Do want to thank everybody for joining in. If you haven't already done it, make sure you hit the like button on the video, ring the bell, subscribe to the channel so that you too can get in on all of the iRacing fun. It's the nightcap of short track night. We did 2 races at Iowa earlier today. They had Old Iowa in the Indy Fixed Oval Series top split. We're doing Richmond here tonight. We've got the sister stream with the Indy Next cars at New Iowa, so won't that be fun? Meanwhile, Ryan Kelly's leading the 16-car field down. They're going to get the green flag this time by Barney is going to have the green flag up in the air. And Andrew,
Green, green, green.
we are green at Richmond.
Yeah, very disjointed start from some of these guys that are in the mid-pack or so. They were hoping that bottom line would get going, but the outside line actually seemed to be the faster line, and now it seems like we're going to get ourselves into a single-file formation. We have one car up high there at turn 3, but I think that just has to do with the tires warming up there. It takes a little bit for these tires to get to their optimal temperature, and if you're kind of pushing that start, it almost could push you up towards the wall.
Car on the high side would have been our man Jeff Heisong. There he is. He's working the high side. And already we've got a spinner. It's Gary Lovern down to the inside of the track. Gary Lovern has taken his Votive Racing League machine for a ride and smacked the inside wall that is off the racing surface. And so Gary is going to be able, is not going to bring out the caution. But that's very simple. Came off at turn number 3, came off at turn number 4, came off high, too much weight jacker. And Andrew, around she goes, and that is a sinking feeling because there is not a darn thing you can do once you get to the grass there to keep that car from smacking the wall. And he is already heading for pit lane in his fast repair. Meanwhile, Ryan Kelly continues to lead the race. Larry Yingling is second. Kyle Clinworth third. The battle is Chris Stouffer and Wayne Campbell for fourth. Wayne Campbell is going to get the better of that one, and Stouffer is immediately going to come under fire from Richie Hearn.
Yeah, at this point of the race, you really just want to slow everything down a little bit and keep those tires warm and protected. Don't really push the corners too much. Once you start wrapping that bottom side, you can make up a lot of ground on the drivers that are probably pushing it a little too much ahead of you. So it's all about rhythm and momentum at this point of the race. So a lot of these drivers want to make these moves. They might have felt slighted that they lost a couple spots at the start of the race, but you just have to be patient and make your move methodically and wait for your time to come.
You do indeed. Speaking of a guy who is methodically trying to work his way back toward the front, that would be Kyle Clinworth. Clinty started in the 6th spot. He's made up 3. He is currently 3rd and all over Larry Yingling for 2nd. I don't know why my Southern Indiana mouth can't get that name out, but I'm having a hard time at it. This is a track, though, Andrew, very similar to Iowa, where if you make a concerted effort on that high side, you can hold somebody off trying to make a pass on the bottom.
You know, I have to disagree with you there, Murph. I think that you have to wrap the bottom as best you can. And I'm watching Chris Stouffer. He's the only car in the top 5 right now that is able to just get to that bottom and just run it lap after lap. There's so much clean air down there. You have a lot of grip down there, especially once the tires really start to rubber up in the middle and the high side. You got to find a spot where the tires group up nicely, and Stouffer has done that nicely thus far. Clemworth and Yingling are running side by side in the middle of the track, but they're losing so much ground to Ryan Kelly, the leader right now.
Yeah, they're down something like 1/10 to 2/10 a lap, and at Richmond, you know, you wouldn't think normally 1/10 on an oval would be that big of a deal. We'll just get right back in the draft and kind of suck right back up. At Richmond, 1/10 a lap is a huge thing. A second lead here is massive, and because it's a short track, there's really not that much of a slipstream or a draft, is there?
You know, every little bit counts. You'll feel a little bit of a draft as you go down the straightaway, but you have to get out of the draft to make the pass. So I really do like what Stouffer's doing right now. That the line he is running is something similar to what I would run, away from the car up on the high side and just slowly chipping away at that gap ahead. And if you keep running that high side, you will stall out.
Whoa, Richie Hearn
All
around.
right, man. Caution is out. Caution is out.
Caution on the speedway. Richie Hearn noses it into the inside retaining wall. Caution is on the speedway. 14 of 170 complete. And here's Richie Hearn, and he's a victim of the exit of turn number 2, Andrew.
Yeah, it's definitely a very, very easy thing to do. Once you start to get very, very high in that corner, your best opportunity to avoid any sort of incident there is just lift off the throttle and let your car kind of eke up to the wall slowly. He kind of did the worst of both situations, which is try and oversteer the car and make sure you don't hit the wall, but at the same time, you're leaving yourself prone to that bump there in turn 2. And I've been there many times. I'm sure every driver in this field has been there in a situation where you're like, well, I'm put myself in a spot now. What do I do?
Yeah, and around Richie goes. The good news is I don't think. Well, he might have gotten a little bit of the left front, so Richie is likely going to have to take his fast repair. We do have cars coming into the pit lane. Yingling, Clinworth, Campbell, Wagner, and and Heisong did not pit. Craig Forsyth stayed out. So too Bill Burrell, Frank Irwin Jr., Jim Herrick. The front nine all remain on the racetrack. Ryan Kelly, Christopher, they all came to the pit lane.
Very interesting strategy. I wonder if there's some sort of fuel games being played here. It's not like we're very far into the race where you can calculate anything going forward, but it's possible if they felt like they could hang in the middle of the pack, they possibly could do something a little bit crafty there. But Richmond, unfortunately, is one of those tracks where a caution can just wave at any time. And if you catch the caution right, you can put yourself from a 13th, 14th place car to suddenly in the top five. If you just play your cards right. So this really isn't a race about passing on the track. It's about trying to find the best pit strategy you possibly can.
Well, and here's the thing too. You don't think about 14 laps being a huge thing, but it really is. If you get a green flag pit stop cycle and a caution waves at the back end of that, and you're Ryan Kelly, you've just trapped the field, not one, not two. But here under green, Andrew, you'll lose 3 laps making a green flag pit stop. So you do not want to pit under green if you don't have to. I like the call to pit here. It gives you more options later on, and I do think you're right. There are some fuel games being played, but aren't there always fuel games being played here, my friends?
Absolutely. And I think another thing to consider is that Richmond is one of the most difficult pit in, pit out situations you'll find on the calendar simply because the track is so small. So if you're putting yourself in a spot where you have to make a green flag pit stop, you have to be ultra careful on the way in and ultra careful on the way out. And if cars are at speed, it's very, very easy to leave yourself vulnerable to being passed.
Yeah, and so, the other thing is on the flip side, you're Larry Yingling, you're going to want the track position. So too Kyle Clinworth, Wayne Campbell, Matty Wagner's worked himself up into the 4th spot, Jeff Heisong, Craig Forsyth. Those guys have the benefit of having the cleaner air. You're Ryan Kelly, you were leading this baby. All of a sudden, you're 9th, right in the middle of trouble. And so that's a good way to get the old car clipped up in something that's not your fault. Barney has the green flag back up in the air. Racing has resumed, and Larry Yingling gets a giant jump over Kyle Clinworth.
Yeah, we're watching these cars back here that took their pit stop. Looks like Christopher's already making the move on Ryan Kelly, and he's got the advantage at the moment. I believe there's a car up front being used as a pick, but Stouffer is going to now be the leader of the cars that pitted, so that's something to watch going forward.
Yes, he is. He's dueling side by side with Ryan Kelly, and the aforementioned pick, that's Frank Irwin Jr. Stouffer slides underneath Irwin in the black and gold 4D racewear machine. He changed the colors up a little bit on that baby. It's a good look for Chris Stouffer, but wrapping that bottom, he's going to get by Frank Irwin Jr., and he'll set his sights on teammate Bill Burrell.
Yeah, that's definitely one of those situations where you saw Stouffer was wrapping the bottom of the racetrack earlier on in the race, and now it's paid off for him as there were drivers that he was trying to go by that were on the high side, and drivers that were not wrapping that bottom were definitely leaving themselves exposed to being passed. So good on Chris Stouffer for keeping true to just sticking on the bottom, and I think that is the strategy that these drivers need to use in order to make their way forward in this race. Despite not being able to pass so easily in the corners, if you just stick to the line you want to stick with and watch what the other drivers ahead of you are doing, that's actually the best way you can just make your strategy work.
Indeed it is. Craig Forsyth gets past Jeff Heisong. Now, there's 2 guys that have raced together forever across varying leagues and officials and pretty much everywhere you can run an iRace. I wonder how many those 2 have run together. It's got to be in the hundreds. Craig Forsyth makes the move on Heisong, and here comes Chris Stouffer, who's also going to make the pass, and Chris Stouffer is going to go through Heisong as well. It's amazing to me that Ryan Kelly has not made more progress. He's up to 8th. He's through Nicholas Stockner, Bill Burrell, but he is not really coming forward in the same way that Chris Stouffer has.
Yeah, it's interesting when there are drivers that qualify up front and feel like they could just race whatever line they want, but when they fall back in the field, they have to maybe get a little bit clever to see what different situations they can take when they enter and exit the corner. And yeah, Ryan Kelly, I think might just be trying to employ a little bit of patience right now. We were talking about a possible change in the pit strategy, and perhaps he's just thinking about keeping his tires in a good state. If he's predicting there might be a long green flag stop, if he's trying to just kind of take his time, making his way through the field, I think that's not really a bad idea to try to employ that strategy either.
No, it's really not. And look, Ryan Kelly, he's got the points lead here. He's got to be thinking, long term. We probably don't talk about the championship situation as much as we might ordinarily do so, but it is a championship, and you got to be thinking about that too. Ryan Kelly, right now, as I said, I take it back, is second in the points. Kyle Clinworth is your points leader. There are only 8 markers that separate them, and the thing about that is, Andrew, there's only 4 races left after tonight: Charlotte, Indianapolis, Dover, and Gateway. So you need to, if you're thinking about winning this championship, you need good finishes from here on out. Ryan Kelly made the conservative choice. I think I like the choice, but he made the conservative choice. Kyle Clinworth, there he is running along in second, made the gamble for some track position. We'll see which one turns out. But again, I like the stop there. It gives them options.
I think we have a lot of different strategies happening right now, Murph. We have drivers that are taking a little more conservative approach, such as Ryan Kelly. A caution can fall at any moment, and any sort of track position that Stouffer might have gotten on Ryan Kelly will now be diminished to nothing. If Ryan Kelly is trying to conserve his tires and really pounce later in the race, that's actually a really good strategy. Meanwhile, you have Chris Stouffer that did pit, lost a bunch of those spots, and he's going super, super aggressive, trying to get his way back to the front again. And he's hoping that there isn't a caution, because then he'll have so much track position that he had gained in the last several laps. So there's definitely a lot of different games you can play here at Richmond. And I'm watching Kyle Clemworth right now, and he's not touching the bottom line at all. He's just banking on that second, third line.
We've got caution. Kurt Rose is around on the back. Bill Burrell had broken a front wing earlier, and so Bill Burrell was on the pit lane. Kurt Rose is around on the back, and I bet you a shiny new dime, Andrew, that this is exactly what happened to Richie Hearn. And by George, it's almost a carbon copy and almost exactly the same impact, spot, and angle. Matter of fact, the skid marks aren't but about 5 feet apart.
We talked about this during the pre-race, didn't we, Murph? We were talking about the whole turn 2 situation. You got to make sure you enter and exit exactly where you want your car to be. Otherwise, you might find yourself in trouble there, and that's exactly what we see yet again.
Well, and here's the thing. So now everybody who didn't pit under that first yellow is going to bring it to the pit lane here, and I'll make another wager that Ryan Kelly and his crew, they're all going to stay out. And so when Larry Yingling comes back out, he's going to be buried deep in the field. There comes Yingling. Matt Wagner stayed on the racing surface. Everybody else has come to the pit lane. So there wasn't anybody from that first group that stayed out. Wagner did, though. How about that?
Definitely something that I think is interesting. Also, at this point in the race, we're really going to start talking about doing this on just one more stop as well, should we stay green the rest of the way. We're at lap 37. You were mentioning that the laps tick off quite fast here. Hard to believe we're already at lap 37, but we only have 130 some odd laps to go. That's definitely easily doable on just one more stop, even with the reduced fuel tank. So some drivers might be thinking about that right now. And why bother staying out when you could just knock out your first pit stop now and then worry about your second pit stop later?
Maybe this would also maybe be a place where, if you get quite a few cautions, you could make it in one stop. That is the track rocket of Matty Wagner. He is leading this field. Nicholas Stockner gives Nicholas his due, the 124. The all flat black machine is in the second spot. Larry Yingling has come back out in third, so he's going to face traffic for the first time in the race. And Bill Burrell is in between him. Now, Burrell should get, if I'm thinking correctly, the lucky dog, although he's coming in the pit lane, it appears. He may need further repair on that machine. It was missing a nose cone earlier, so he may stop and get himself some additional some additional Mr. Fix'em on his machine. 38 of 170 complete here at Richmond. Do want to thank everybody for tuning it in. If you haven't already done it, make sure you hit the like button on the video, ring the bell, subscribe to P1 so that you can get in on all of the iRacing fun. Do want to thank 4D Racewear for their support of the series. Sim racing hats, gloves, shoes, other apparel. For sim racers, by sim racers, hit them up, 4dracewear.com. It's Matt Wagner going to lead them back around as they come off the backstretch into turns 3 and 4, way away from that pace car. And Wags is going to have the point. We'll see what kind of a jump he gets on Stockner here.
Green flag, green flag.
I see Ryan Kelly and Craig Forsyth are still going at it. Fresh off their pit stop, it's definitely time to start making moves now. So maybe Ryan Kelly won't be as conservative going forward, but we'll have to see how this shapes out. I think Craig Forsyth is just taking that middle line a little bit, and Ryan Kelly's got to maybe make a little bit different maneuver to try and get past.
Well, and here's the thing. You see Kelly drop down to the inside. Here's the thing with the strategies being equalized. Kelly now has to go. There's no playing it conservatively any longer. He has to begin to move to the front. Speaking of moves to the front, Kyle Clinworth continues to be all over the back of Larry Yingling, and you couldn't fit a sheet of paper between Clindy and the outside wall. He's going to chop to the bottom in turn number 1. He'll look to the inside of Yingling.
That was definitely a lunge there. Clinworth just about gets the job done there, but Yingling just found that one-car gap on the outside and now forces Clinworth to continue that high line that he has been so good at, but it's just letting the drivers ahead pull away quite a bit.
It most certainly is. Clindy all the way up against that wall. He's running where drivers named Petty and Gant tend to tread. Yingling is now going to take the high side, and that's going to cut off Clinworth's attack on the bottom. That's how you have to make a pass here, though. You've got to get a huge run going through 3 and 4 with a guy on the bottom. You got to set him up that way so you can make the lunge down into turn 3 and 4, and then you got to hope you clear him, because if you don't make that pass, Andrew Wood, you are going to fall. You're going to lose a ton of time if you got to get off the gas at the exit of turn number 2 to not come up and hit the guy.
You know, I actually, as you were talking about that, I was watching Jim Herrick and Frank Irwin Jr. back around 10th, 11th place. They were side by side for 3 laps straight there and almost came to blows several times there. And now looks like Kurt Rose actually is going to try to get alongside Jim Herrick, but does not quite prevail there. But yeah, you see these cars going side by side through much of these corners and trying to give a little bit of room. Herrick just touches the wall there, unfortunately.
Yeah, he did. He's got Gary Lovern behind him now. Lovern, as you recall, had an accident earlier that did not bring out the yellow light. He was at one point 3 laps down. He is back to 2 laps in arrears, and so he's got one of those back. Bill Burrell also 2 laps down. But Gary Lovern qualified here. Gary Lovern qualified here 4th quick. That is not a slow machine, and if he can get some cautions, get those 2 laps back, he might be in a position to score another good finish here. Andrew.
Back up towards the front, Kyle Clinworth is trying, and he's trying so hard to get by Larry Yingling. He lunged on him both in 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 last lap. Didn't quite get the job done. You could tell that Clinworth is definitely trying his best to get that spot from Yingling. Once he dispatches him, he will be able to go and challenge those leaders, but he just hasn't been able to quite get the job done.
In the meantime, though, because he's doing so much battling with Larry Yingling, that's allowed Nicholas Stockner and Matt Wagner to just drive away from these two. Stockner not really interested in racing Wagner for the lead. I think they know that they need to kind of just hold station, and they're pulling away. Last time through, for those two drivers, they were actually about a 10th quicker than Kyle Clinworth, so they're moving.
Well, one of the things you have to also consider is that Yingling is not really – he's just driving the middle line of the track right now, which is honestly a great defensive maneuver. It's forcing Clinworth to try and do a high line versus a low line and try and see where the speed is. He knows that Clemworth is probably faster, but if you watch Yingling's lines, he's just in that second lane repeatedly, time after time after time, and it's just good enough where Clemworth can't carry that middle of the corner speed in order to get alongside to make that pass into the following corner. But yeah, Yingling is doing just well enough, but I think he knows that he's not as fast as Clemworth, but he doesn't want to also lose the spot. So the line he's driving is the perfect one. Oh, I think someone's on the wall. Wagner's on the wall.
Yeah, that's Wagner. He is very slow in the middle of the course, and we're going to take a look at what has befallen Matty Wags. I think we're going to have our first turn 4 victim here, or second one rather. Gary Lovren was. Now there's a caution on the race course, and that is for Nicholas Stockner. So we're going to go back and grab Stockner here in just a moment.
I think there was contact, actually, Murph, if you want to go back to the entry to turn 3 on the previous lap.
Yeah, there was contact between Stockner and Wagner, so that's what causes Wagner to take a shot up into the fence at the exit of turn number 4. Stockner continues on, but the suspension on that machine has to be bent. That was a huge lick for Wagner, and he's going to go into turn. He's going to come on for turn 2. Little overcorrection, and he does the old dipsy-do right into the fence, and he collects poor Chris Stouffer. Stouffer's not going to lose any time off of that racket, but he is going to have to take his fast repair.
Yeah, very unfortunate for the leaders. They were just starting to pull away from third place there, and unfortunately had a little bit of a coming together there. And I think if a little more patience was employed by Nicholas Stockner there, like you were mentioning, the couple laps prior to that, I think that could have paid off a little bit better for both of them. But now all these drivers have made that last pit stop. Now there's definitely not going to be any fuel strategy. So I wonder if anyone's going to come in and just top that off just to see what happens later on in the race. If another caution comes out, you could find yourself with a lot of good track position.
Well, you could. You could also wind up in a situation where you do gas only at the end of this thing. Chris Stouffer, Jim Herrick, Matt Wagner, Kurt Rose, Joseph Morales have all come to the pit lane, as has Bill Burrell. Gary Lovren gets a lap back. Larry Yingling is your leader. Do want to thank everybody for joining in. If you haven't already done it, make sure you hit the like button on the video, ring the bell, subscribe to the channel so that you can get in on all of the iRacing fun. It's the Area 51 IndyCar Series on P1. I like the call to stop there, and I'll tell you why. You're going to have 110 laps. You're going to have a shorter second stop, and if it's just a couple of seconds here, the fuel stop is about 6, takes about 7.5 to 8 seconds to do fuel and tires. If you can cut a second off of your final stop, that could be massive, Andrew.
I'm actually doing some math here, Murph. I'm trying to figure out what the fuel situation looks like, and yeah, I think that the stop here, I agree with you, is completely the right thing to do. It just opens up options, kind of like what we were talking about with the very, very first stop of the race, where you're coming in a little bit early to try and top off and see how the race pans out from there. And I have to kind of laugh a little bit. Another quick thought I had about Gary Lovren, you were talking about how far down he was after the first lap there, that incident. Now he's one lap down, and now Gary Lovren is probably praying for one more caution to put himself back on the lead lap. And imagine if he can just put himself in a pit strategy where he finds himself back up towards the front again. That would certainly be something, but not unlikely for Richmond.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, he's going to put himself. He's going to play the cards he's dealt. He keeps getting the lucky dog. The wave around Larry Yingling is going to get the green flag. But he keeps getting the lucky dog, the wave around. He'll just keep driving right back around the field. He gets a free pit stop, and why not? Larry Yingling, he's going to go grab the lead. And one more time, we are under green here at Richmond. 61 of 170 are complete, and Clenworth lost a half a second on that restart.
Yeah, the restarts of Richmond can always be a little bit sketchy. No one really knows what's going on, especially like around that tight corner there. But we have a car on the wall there.
That's Nicholas Stockner. Yeah, that's Nicholas Stockner, and I think he's going to stop on the front straightaway. Very slow for Nicholas Stockner. Good of him to keep it on the wall and away from the field. And I wonder if he was just trying to get out of the way there. Honestly, I didn't see any contact. I think he was just trying to let everybody go. Meanwhile, Yingling and Clenworth, they're going to resume their battle at the front. And you know who's ruining that contact right now is Chris Stouffer. Because with Yingling running the middle and Clenworth slaps the wall a little bit. With Yingling running the middle and Clindy up in the marbles, that really opens the bottom, and taking advantage of that is Ryan Kelly. You see him in the background, but Clindy, he is just all over the back of Yingling.
You see, you were talking about Stouffer before. I went to watch what he's doing, and he's still keeping himself pinned to that bottom line, and he's staying very, very true to it. He got by Craig Forsyth last lap, and I think he's going to start putting a little bit of pressure on the two cars that are battling ahead of him there. As long as he keeps on that, I think everything is repaired in the car. A little bit of a hiccup and a hurdle for Chris Stouffer there, but I just like how Chris Stouffer is driving this track right now.
I do too. There was a big puff of smoke in the background there, and that was from Richie Hearn. And look, we're living in a NASCAR world. Sometimes the sim doesn't keep up with just how fast these cars are. You'll see that puff of smoke, and it could be netcode contact with the outside wall. Sometimes they're not actually hitting it, but it's always when you're controlling the cameras, you see smoke. You're like, oh, what just happened? Just a little bit of netcode. Richie Hearn just fine in fifth, and Stouffer, you're right, wrapping that bottom, and he is coming just as quick as Yingling and Clenworth are at the front, and Yingling now has stretched it to about half a second over Kyle Clenworth.
You're mentioning puffs of smoke, and I believe Clenworth did have a puff of smoke off turn 2 there. We were mentioning that turn 2 was the trouble spot in the pre-race there when we were discussing the possibilities for this race, but Clenworth has not been able to dispatch Larry Yingling yet. Yingling has found a way to be not so fast, but just good enough where he can defend Clenworth in the wall again. Puff of smoke off turn 2, and
there was one of those. I don't think there was one of those. I don't think was netcode. I think there was an actual touch there for Clindy, because he has fallen now 0.6 of a second away from Larry Yingling and is receding into the clutches of Wayne Campbell and Ryan Kelly, and it's not going to be too much longer before Wayne Campbell goes to the outside of Kyle Clenworth, and that's the battle for second.
I actually do notice that there is a wrinkle in the Clenworth side pod right now, so I don't know if that's new or actually I'll take a look at that. Now it looks like he's had a wrinkle in that side pod for a while, so it would have been tough for him to really make a move on Larry Yingling. Anyway, I'll go back and see when that wrinkle happened exactly, and I'll report back.
Andrew Wood is going to do research. He's been doing math. Now he's on a fact-finding mission. I wonder if I should send a smoke detector over to your place, Andrew, with all that thinking you're doing. Meanwhile, Ryan Kelly, and that's a championship battle too. He's gone through Wayne Campbell, and now Ryan Kelly has gone around Kyle Clenworth. It'll be Kelly that sets sail after Larry Yingling.
Yeah, I think I found the incident, Murph. I believe it was lap 64. There was an incident with Clenworth going out of turn 2, and there was just enough of a whack on that wall there that, it was turn 4, not turn 2. And that'll be enough to do it. And once you wrinkle that side pod up a little bit, it's next to impossible really to do anything in terms of battling the car ahead of you. But it is possible at a short track like Richmond, where you don't really get up to speed too much, that downforce will really play big factor or not, that you could hold off cars behind you and just wait for that next pit stop. I'm sure Clenworth knows that there's some damage going on in his car, may not be reacting the same, and he's ready to use that fast repair should it come time to pit.
Yeah, I mean, he's lost a couple of tenths off of his best pace, and Wayne Campbell looks to the inside. We'll see Campbell go through here within the next couple of laps. Clenworth gives him plenty of room, and Clindy, it looks like, hit the wall again coming off of turn number 4. Look, I mean, that's the disadvantage of being up there. Richard Petty used to say you'd hit it a lot, but you didn't have to go as far to hit it, and you didn't hit it as hard. So, but Clenworth has definitely been rubbing the outside retaining wall, and the the speed in that 37 shows it, and all that's done with these two battling has allowed Chris Stouffer, who has gotten around Richie Hearn, he's closed in on both of them, and Stouffer continues to wrap that bottom, Andrew.
Yeah, Christopher is doing everything he can, but now he has two cars he has to decide what he's going to do with and what line to run. But you see, Stouffer is the lowest of the three cars. Stouffer has managed. I was mentioning before at the start of the race that this track is all about rhythm. Once you let the revs go up and you get your rhythm, you turn down. You let the revs go up, it's all about patience. And if you can find that patience early on and an easy way to get yourself around the track, you're going to be golden all race long. And we've seen that from Stouffer since lap 1 pretty much. Yeah, he's taking some different lines around the track. You'll see that. But that's all about just trying to see just trying to behave of what the cars ahead are doing. But generally speaking, he's got the best line around this track right now. And especially wrapping that bottom out of turn 1 and 2, it keeps your car the most out of danger for hitting that bump.
Most certainly does. Watching Kyle Clinworth continue to try to fend off the charge. Wayne Campbell, Chris Stouffer looking to get by him. They've got Bill Burrell in front of him, and how that's going to play. Burrell going to pull his car to the high side. Clindy going to go to the bottom, and now, yeah, traffic jam. Here comes Stouffer to the bottom, 3 wide.
Yeah, Clinworth got himself right on that yellow line entering turn 3. I think he was trying to really send it to see what the car would do if he had just touched the bottom a little bit, but that just stacked up everyone behind him. I thought there was going to be a little bit more drama than that.
You know, this track is decently wide, but it's not really three Indy cars wide, especially when you get off of one of these corners. Great work by all 4 of those cars, Bill Burrell included, to make it through without contact. Campbell and Stouffer, though, my goodness, those two are going after it. And Campbell, he's kind of in a bad spot because he knows he's probably quicker than Clinworth, but he also knows that Stouffer's probably quicker than both of them here. And Richie Hearn has started to enter that picture. We're about to have a 4-way battle for third.
Yeah, at this point, Clinworth's damage is definitely holding these drivers up, but Clendy is doing a really, really great job just defending and holding his position here, trying to not get passed by any more cars, despite the fact that he's carrying some damage right now. But at this point, it's definitely upsetting these drivers behind that know that they're a little bit faster, but just can't quite get that run going. I think Campbell has just not quite found the pace and the line to do it, and that's just been like a double wall for Chris Stouffer to try and plow his way through there, which is allowing Richie Hearn into the picture. So you're right, a big 4-car battle is in the works here.
It is. Stouffer just can't quite clear Wayne Campbell on that bottom. Clinworth not going all the way to the bottom, though. And I think that might be benefiting Stouffer a little bit. It's likely also going to be hurting Wayne Campbell just a little because he's having to track through the dirty air. But Campbell does get the benefit of being in Clinworth's draft for these short straights, and he's so far been able to keep Chris Stouffer at bay. And keeping Chris Stouffer at bay is no easy task, is it, Andrew?
Yeah, definitely not. I'm actually watching that. I think that middle line through 3 and 4 actually might be a little bit better than that bottom. Just watching where Wayne Campbell's getting the middle corner and exit speed through 3 and 4. That middle line actually might be a little bit better than trying to wrap that bottom through 3 and 4. So Stouffer is losing a little bit of time. He gets right underneath through 1 and 2 just fine, but as soon as he takes that bottom line through 3 and 4, Campbell does get a little bit more momentum on the high side there. So I'm wondering if just based on the setup or the track conditions or both, that's allowing these drivers to get a little bit of an advantage, not wrapping the bottom so much. You see Stouffer gets a little bit there in 1 and 2, and then 3 and 4 he tries the bottom again, but he just can't quite get alongside the same way that he does in 1 and 2.
Well, and here's the other thing. At 58 laps on this current run, we're about ready to see the leaders make their pit stops. Chris Stouffer has a 21-lap advantage on fuel here. He last stopped 37 laps ago. Same for Matt Wagner, Jim Herrick, Kurt Rose, and Joseph Morales. Gary Lovern is in that camp. So those cars do have a bit of an advantage on the fuel tank. And Stouffer now, he got up alongside Clinworth, but he just cannot make that move stick. Meanwhile, Clindy moves to the middle. I don't necessarily know if the middle is faster, but what it does do is it's going to allow you to keep up more momentum, Andrew. So the guy you're racing he's got to pinch it off and lift at corner exit, and that you just can't quite make the move. You got to work at it and work at it and work at it. Richie Hearn has a beautiful seat for all this, by the way. Let's jump on board with Richie.
You know, Murph, we were waiting and waiting and waiting for Indy cars to go side by side at Richmond for many, many laps like we've seen these drivers do, but we just never quite got it in the real life situation. So watching these drivers go side by side, and you see the bottom line's not as advantageous. The middle is just kind of good enough to hang on there. I think this is exactly what we would love to see when we watch an IndyCar race.
You know, it is. I mean, you've got multiple lines, you've got multiple ways around. It's not guaranteed that one line can hold off the other. You've got a lot of experience in this group. Kyle Clinworth, multiple-time champion in pretty much everything that has been run except the Open Series. You've got Wayne Campbell, a regular in Area 51. You've got Chris Stouffer, who's been running these things since Fred Flintstone was at the Indy Rockless 500. And Richie Hearn has actually raced here in real life, albeit 24 years ago in one of these things. There's a lot of experience there, and these guys are showing what that experience can do in a car they're comfortable with and at a track conducive to some pretty good racing.
Checking to see. I thought I saw Frank Irwin Jr. tag the wall, but I think he's just taking a pit stop. I don't know if he's calling it quits or maybe this is his last pit stop. I saw a puff of smoke, but it looks like the car is actually okay.
Yeah, there's Frank Irwin Jr. And at 65 laps, he is right in that window to make his final stop. Frank Irwin Jr. has not used his fast repair, so it'll function as his final stop regardless. Meanwhile, we're going to go back to the lead. Larry Yingling has caught lap traffic. He and Ryan Kelly have sodded off from now Chris Stouffer in third. And we've got a caution. Gary Lovern. Hard in the wall.
Kyle Clemworth was entering pit lane, so I don't know if he's going to get a penalty.
We're going
to not make it into the pit lane before the caution.
We're going to check all of those things out. Here's Gary Lovern. Contact with Jim Herrick into turn number 1. And there's the impact for Lovern. Meanwhile, we need to figure out whether Clindy made it on the pit lane or not here. Let's see. Roll bar.
Yeah, it's actually kind of poor Clemworth actually was trying to pit the previous lap, but he got smoked by all 3 cars that he was battling with behind, and he could not get down to the pit road. I believe I heard him call on the radio he was trying to pit, but obviously if he made a mistake and cars were going by, there was no way he was getting to the bottom. So he just waited for the next lap, and then the next lap the caution came out. So it all just has gone completely upside down for poor Clemworth.
You know, I think he's going to be okay on the black flag situation. There he is across the commitment line, and you can see the green light still on. So he might be okay as far as that goes.
I think that I heard Jeff Hysong say he's out of fuel.
Well, so
he just made it to his box.
Hysong does make it to his box. Guess who the leader is going to be out of all that? It's going to be Kyle Clinworth.
Yep. Yeah. That's if you time the pit stop perfect. Again, I was watching Clemworth trying to make his way into the pit lane as you call the caution. And it was just so close for him to make it or not. I didn't quite know if he had made it in there, but that's the best situation. If you find yourself getting into the pit lane right when the caution comes out, all the cars slow down and you get to do your pit stop with all the cars at a slower speed. So not surprising. I would have thought that Clemworth might have gone maybe 1 lap down since the lap is so short.
Yeah, so the situation is this. Kyle Clinworth makes his pit stop. The pace car goes out on the track. It collects Larry Yingling, and Yingling is not able to make it back around by the time Clinworth gets his service. Now, Clindy is going to the back, and so he may have been flagged for entering a closed pit. We're going to see if we can't go back to... Well, normally ATVO is going to give me a incident list. It didn't do that here, but Clindy, no matter, is back on the pit lane anyway. And I just kind of wondered, if you're listening to the radio chatter, had he gotten an into the longest line? Was there some sort of a penalty from that, Andrew?
I just heard a little bit of a scattered kind of reaction to the caution, but I didn't see a black flag necessarily. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, one didn't pop up in ATVO in our timing and scoring. So be that as it may, Clindy is going to go back to the tail end of the lead lap here. He stops in his box, tops it up with fuel. 109 of 170 here in the Area 51 IndyCar Series. You've got Mark Murphy, Andrew Wood. We do want to thank everybody who is joining us from the Indy Next race at Iowa, as Larry Yingling leads it away from Ryan Kelly and Chris Stouffer. And Stouffer has come back good from his little incident earlier. He's made it back to third, Andrew.
You know, it's all about the patience, Murph. Like we always talk about at this track, you got to be patient here, and you got to just take your time and run the line you want to run. And sometimes these things happen. And yes, he's a little bit of a benefactor of a Clemmer situation there, but Stouffer has just been patient and been methodically making.
Whoa, Clindy hard in the wall. Impact, Chris. With Stockner, caution is out. And that is going to be night done for Kyle Clinworth. He was racing extremely hard with Nicholas Stockner and Bill Burrell at the back of this field, trying to carve his way through. He'd made it past Frank Irwin Jr., and there's Clindy. You see Burrell goes high. Clinworth goes to the bottom to avoid him. Burrell may have touched the wall a little bit, came down, and there's contact that ensues between Clinworth and Stockner, and that is going to be night done for Clindy. It's going to be night done for Stockner. Gary Lovern on pit lane with the meatball. Caution is on the racetrack, and Kyle Clinworth's championship hopes take a massive hit here, Andrew.
Yeah, watching that replay there, Bill Burrell did what your pal Andrew Wood did in the votive race just a few nights ago, like driving straight, and suddenly the wall sucks you in and spits you out. And Clemworth unfortunately had a head of steam, and suddenly there was a car on the inside there, and next thing you know, there's nothing you could do. Contact.
The good news for Clindy, if there is good news out of this situation, is this is a pretty short field. Short tracks, generally speaking, do not draw as well in terms of the participation department. So with 16 cars in the race and Stockner and Lovern out, the worst he can finish here is 14th, which isn't minimum points is 15th. So he's not going to take a massive blow, but Ryan Kelly is running second. Larry Yingling is leading this baby, and those are his two nearest pursuers, so they're going to pick up a ton of points. So is Chris Stouffer. Stouffer's running third, so that's the nightmare scenario. If you're the points leader, you have a bad night, your nearest positions 2, 3, and 4 in the points, they run 1, 2, and 3 right now in that order.
Just funny how everything in this Area 51 series just changes week to week. You think someone has a little bit of momentum, and perhaps maybe Clemworth has kind of had an up and down season in Area 51, but someone that's a little bit more consistent always manages to find their way to be right in the mix there in the point standing. So we got 4 races left, and we'll talk a little bit more about that after the race ends. And yeah, you can never really check any situation after this race in particular.
No, you can't. We mentioned the 4 tracks upcoming. We do have 4 more races on the Area 51 schedule here. The next one is April 28th. That's going to be at Charlotte. May 12th is the Indianapolis 500K. May 19th, we're going to go to Dover, and June 2nd, the series finishes up at Gateway. We've got Gael Brooks in the chat. Gael couldn't make it to the race tonight as a driver. He believe he had to work the old 9 to 5, and Gael joining us via chat. So good to see you, Gael. You've got a great 55 lap
green flag.
sprint here at Richmond coming up. Larry Yingling hits the loud pedal and away he streaks. And just pretty much like every restart, he's jumped out to about a half a second. But Chris Stouffer is hounding Ryan Kelly. This is going to get interesting because Stouffer can smell that lead. And we know how Chris Stouffer is when he smells the front, Andrew.
Yeah, I'm actually watching. Looks like Clemworth is back on track again with a fully repaired vehicle. So interested that what's quite happened there. He's racing at the backs. Maybe he's a little bit down on power. But Clemworth is not quite out of this yet, so he's going to try and scoop up any points he possibly can to hold that points lead.
Yeah, you can tell it's not all the way up to Song. He never got it out of fourth gear down the back, and it's not hitting the chip. It's not hitting the chip on the front stretch either. So Kyle Clemworth definitely not up to full Song, down to third gear in the corners, just trying to make the laps and see what he can salvage. Back at the front, though, it's going to get fun. Yingling leads it. Ryan Kelly has caught him, and Chris Stouffer has made his way off the bottom, and he's looking to the high side of Ryan Kelly.
Yingling is getting it done yet again this race. He looks like he's just got a good strategy. And again, I was mentioning before, he doesn't have the best line around the track, but it's just good enough that no one is able to really get a run on him. And sometimes when you're at a track like Richmond, just a way to hold good drivers behind is just drive a defensive line, and nobody can get by you unless they drive through you, which obviously is not really an MO for anyone in this league necessarily. So I really do like how Larry Yingling is driving, even though I'm a little bit aggravated at the line that he's taking for the fastest line around the track. He's making it work for him, and you can't be upset about that.
No, I mean he's a good half lane off the bottom, and what that's doing is it's forcing anybody that wants to get around him. They're going to have to run the fence, and that's a very difficult thing to do here. Just simply by track design, we talk about Iowa a lot, how it can be difficult at Iowa to get off of turn number 4. Magnify that by 100 here at Richmond. It's because it's shorter. The angle is that much tighter. It's really easy to snap one of these things loose coming off a corner, and so you got to be careful on the high line. You got to be careful if you're racing side by side with somebody on the bottom, so you don't hit each other.
Kurt Rose is driving around without piece of his front wing there, Murph. I'm not really sure what's happened. Actually, I believe Craig Forsyth might have had a stake in that a few laps back. I believe Forsyth got a little bit loose out of turn 4, and I think unfortunately Kurt Rose was just kind of in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah, Kurt Rose minus the right half of that front wing. You see Frank Irwin Jr., Kyle Clenworth, now Bill Burrell lined up. And look, for Clindy, that's a spot, right? That's what he needs to be doing. He somehow maintained his position on the lead lap. I did not believe he had a fast repair left, and that car was pretty badly beat up. But, and it's not up to full Song. He's lost almost a full lap in the 22 lap run that we've had, but he's still out there. He's still chugging around. He's keeping up with Frank Irwin Jr. at least. And hey, if you got other people in front of him that have problems, he may be able to salvage a decent finish here. Meanwhile, at the front, Chris Stouffer is kind of fallen into the clutches of Wayne Campbell. So the Indy Rockless 500 veteran, he's just trying to hold on to a podium now, and you're going to tell him that, aren't you? That I said that he was in the Fred Flintstone 500.
I'll leave that to you there, Murph. You can take that mantle. I've been watching Wayne Campbell, and it seemed like Wayne Campbell might have been a little bit more uncomfortable earlier on in the race, but I think just sitting behind Stouffer for all this time, and especially being in that battle with Stouffer, I think Wayne Campbell's learned something, because now Wayne Campbell's even wrapping the bottom line just like Stouffer is. Obviously, you can't wrap it quite as good without losing a little bit of some track position there in the dirty air, but I actually do think that Wayne Campbell has just kind of sat back and said, all right, let's see what Stouffer has.
Caution. Caution is on the speedway. Jeff Heisong has looped it down the backstretch, and Heisong will bring out the yellow light. We're under caution one more time, 133 of 170. Jeff Heisong all by himself in the Black Rifle Coffee machine. Here he is through turns 1 and 2. And there it is. He goes through Richie Hearn's tire tracks, nose in, and there's the impact. And so we're going to see a caution flag one more time. This could be a blessing for Kyle Clinworth, just because if he's got any further repair that needs to be done to that machine, he'll have a chance to come get it. So to Kurt Rose, I believe Kurt Rose is going to be the lucky dog here. So he's going to be able to come back around and get a new front wing. That's going to be huge for him. And I wonder if we're going to see any pitting from the leaders.
Pit. Everyone pit.
Yingling stays out. Kelly stays out. Stouffer, no.
Come on, guys. Get those fresh tires for the end of the race. Why not? Try and bring the rest of the field down with you. That's what I would do.
Well, we're going to see Craig Forsyth and Kyle Clinworth, Jeff Heisong as the pitters. They are going to be the only ones that take advantage. And for Clinworth, I'm interested to see if there is additional repair on that 37. We're going to keep the camera on Clinworth just to kind of monitor his stop. He pulls it in, and we'll see what kind of stop the Rogue Racing entry has. He is getting something because he's been in there now for 12, 13 seconds. You got to watch the pace car though, Andrew. Pace car is coming off of turn number 4 now.
You know, Murph, I say everyone pit. That's why I'm in the booth and not on the track right now, because I guess that was not the right move to do.
I think Stouffer baited him. Clinworth is going to come off of the pit lane with plenty of room to spare before the pace car. So he did get some additional damage repaired, a further 30 seconds, and back onto the racetrack he'll go. I did see some of the rear wing end plating pop back into place. So he did have some damage yet to go on that machine, and he's probably got some more. Yet. But every little bit helps, doesn't it?
Absolutely, and I would have thought a little bit more tire life might have helped some drivers here, but I guess we really don't actually know what people have in store. Would you have pit in this situation? Just about half a stint to go. Maybe just try and see if a little bit of fresh tires can do something for you to get some advantage.
You know, if I was Morales, Herrick, Irwin, Richie Hearn, absolutely. If I was at the front, given what we've seen so far, I would not. It just kind of depends on where you're at track position wise. I think tonight we've seen that clean air is superior to new tires. Larry Yingling is staying out. And with that, the whole front end of the field is going to stay out. If you're at the back, why not come strap on a new pair of boots? But if you're up in that front 5, I don't think you pit here. I think if you've got enough fuel, you're staying out for the remainder of the event.
Well, we do have 33 laps to go, so we have to see quite exactly what these drivers have in store. Here we go.
Green flag is out. Racing does resume. Larry Yingling, Ryan Kelly, Chris Stouffer are your front 3, and Yingling once again blasts out to about a half-second lead. Matt Wagner all over the back of Wayne Campbell, and he's got Richie Hearn in close attendance. That's about the best battle on the racetrack. Campbell and Stouffer, they're going to go after it again too.
We got some single file action going on right now. We're kind of winding down these laps. I would have thought there might have been a little bit more action happening, but perhaps there might just be a storm brewing that we're not quite sure of yet, but we'll see what happens.
Could be. Do want to welcome everybody who is joining us from the Indy Next Oval Top Split race from Iowa. Welcome in to the Area 51 IndyCar Series. You're watching lap 140 of 170 be completed. Larry Yingling is your leader. Ryan Kelly second. Chris Stouffer is third. Wayne Campbell, Matty Wagner round out your top 5, and it's Campbell on Stouffer that is the hottest battle on the track at the moment. Those two are getting after it. Jim Herrick is racing Joseph Morales very closely in the back, and they're kind of hanging on to Richie Hearn, and that's a great run for Joseph Morales into the top 10. That's not a name that we see up there as often as we should, and Joseph Morales giving that red cannon machine a pretty good ride.
Yeah, Joseph Morales is the king of staying out of trouble in all these races, and sometimes these races just come to him, and that's what brings Joseph Morales back into these races, is saying, okay, maybe I can't race up front as much as I really would like to, but if I keep my car clean, which I do every single race I'm in, seemingly, doesn't ever get himself into trouble, suddenly he finds himself sitting close to the top 5, and anything can happen going forward here. Richie Hearn also had quite a nice bounce back right up ahead of him, too, we should add.
Yeah, I mean, Richie's been around the front pretty much the entire evening. He started third. He's been back as far as 15th after he nosed into the wall. Got that 40 Raceware machine fixed up, and he's back up to the 6th spot. So a nice recovery for Richie Hearn there. He runs. Frank Irwin Jr. is doing a fine job, too. He's got Craig Forsyth coming behind him. But Frank Irwin Jr., a top 10 would be a nice run for him in the VP Racing Fuels machine. He sees Forsyth coming. Now, the Forsyth machine is wounded for Craig. He was involved in an accident earlier. He's already taken his fast repair, so that Forsyth Racing entry may not be up to full song. But meanwhile, Ryan Kelly is starting to challenge Larry Yingling for the lead. Kelly right on the rear wing of Larry Yingling, and caution back out. It's Jim Herrick. It's going to be the exit of turn 2, claims another car, Andrew, and you're going to get a chance to see your pit choice play out one more time.
Well, I would have pit on the last caution and see if perhaps more drivers have baited for the next time.
Again, another carbon copy spin exit turn 2 incident for Jim Herrick, just right through the tire tracks of the others. Pit lane is still closed, so nobody has entered. You see the red lights. Glenworth is going to come in. He doesn't really care if the pits are open or closed. He's at the back of the lead lap anyway. So we'll see next time whether or not Clindy is going to stop. This should give a lap back to Jeff Hysong, put him back on the lead lap. But we didn't see anybody come in there, and that was rather surprising. If the pits are open, I would expect to see certainly Forsyth and Rose come in, maybe Frank Irwin Jr., Joseph Morales, Richie Hearn, maybe, just to see if I could get me some new tires on low fuel. Maybe that would be a handling advantage. But so far, Andrew, nobody is coming in.
Yeah, there comes a point in the end of the race where the window will close for pitting and actually getting any sort of advantage. But you're right. If any driver in the back wants to pick up a couple more spots, that's definitely the way to go. But all the front runners at this point will probably stay out.
Yeah, Jeff Hysong came in and got new tires. Now, that's not surprising. He took the lucky dog, so he's going to be tailing Charlie anyway. You might as well. But with 20 laps to go, 19 laps to go when they get back to green, nobody wants to give up that track position. And we did not see new tires climb through the field earlier when there was a tire difference, and Ryan Kelly was the first car on those tires. He really didn't make up all that much ground.
Of course, he's battling Larry Yingling, who's just kind of driving that middle line like we were mentioning before. It's very, very difficult to try and get underneath him. So he's found a defensive line, and it really could pay off for him if he's able to do it for another 20 laps or so.
Yes, indeed. Do want to thank everybody for tuning in, joining in. If you haven't already done it, make sure you hit the like button on the video, ring the bell, subscribe to P1 so that you can get on all of the iRacing fun. It is the Area 51 IndyCar Series. Here on P1, it is the oldest continuously run IndyCar Series in the sim. We are in season, 20, Andrew?
God, don't ask me that. Something like that.
You've been around a lot longer than I have here. You've won a bunch of races in the series. I thought you would have known that.
Yes, that's something I'll have for us next time there, Murph.
Do your research. I need to know where you are on the all-time winners list in Area 51.
Okay, that's my homework for our next race. When we go to Charlotte, I'll have the answer.
It is indeed. Larry Yingling hits the loud pedal. Away he goes. And we are back to green flag action here at Richmond, and Yingling just streaking away. But Ryan Kelly, he was able to stay a lot tighter that time, Andrew.
Yes, of course, he stayed tighter, but that doesn't give a lot of momentum to make the pass going into turn 3. So you see Larry Yingling is still your leader going into turn 1. And Larry Yingling is changing his line a little bit. He's going a little bit lower around the corners. So perhaps he's found a little bit more patience and a little more confidence in that car. And now it's going to be very, very difficult for anyone to get by him, even by taking the most optimal line possible. So we'll see if anyone can upset him off that bottom line.
Yeah, you're gonna have to pull that slingshot move that we saw Clinworth doing earlier, where you build the momentum on the high side through 3 and 4, and then dive low in 1 and 2, and just try to force the thing clear. It's worth mentioning, Yingling and Kelly, these are two veteran drivers, veterans of Area 51. They are second and third in points, and they know that Kyle Clinworth is wounded and running 11th back there, and so they're if you're Ryan Kelly, are you going to force the issue a whole lot, knowing you stand to pick up a pile of points here?
Well, I definitely think that you go for the win if you can get the win. Larry Yingling is coming on strong here at the end of the season. We have just 4 races left, and if he's put himself in a nice prime spot, I don't think he's ready to get that spot up quite yet. So Larry Yingling could go back-to-back here.
He most certainly could. Yingling, your leader. Ryan Kelly is the challenger in second. Christopher has fallen about a half second off of them in third, and he's got a boatload of trouble coming from Wayne Campbell and Matty Wagner. That's the battle you see at the top of your screen. The leaders are in the middle. We're going to watch the battle for the lead, because over the last 12 laps, this is going to get pretty good. Ryan Kelly is there.
Wagner is starting to really harass Wayne Campbell quite a bit for P4 there, and could Matt Wagner make his way up to the third spot here before this is all said and done?
That would be a massive win for him. He, of course, went around earlier, knocked the front wing off of his machine, took his fast repair, went to the back. Matt Wagner has come back to the top 5. You see Richie Hearn lurking back there in that 6th spot. But can Matty Wagner, pull a rabbit out of the hat and get himself a podium? I'm very interested, though, in the battle for the lead, because Ryan Kelly is all over Larry Yingling now. We'll go on board with Ryan Kelly.
Ryan Kelly's definitely close now, but don't make the move quite yet. You got to study what Larry's line is and then perhaps make a move towards the end of the race. I think Yingling is committed to that bottom line, so you're right. There is going to need to be some sort of slingshot that happens with Ryan Kelly to take that lead back. Yeah,
he ran a little bit higher that time through, and he lost a little bit of time. He's going to get back in the tire tracks of Larry Yingling, but that's the situation here. Is that's the preferred line right there around the bottom. It's going to take a special move to get around Larry Yingling.
The battle for third is really heating up now. Wayne Campbell is getting a little bit of an advantage on Stouffer. He goes down low and tries to take that third spot, but that's Stouffer's line that he knows very well, so he knows how to hang it up on the high side. And I don't know if Wayne Campbell has enough to do it, but it'd be pretty remarkable if he could beat Stouffer at his own game.
Yeah, Wayne Campbell stuck it in there on the bottom on Chris Stouffer, but Stouffer able to use the top side to fend him off, and now that gives a huge run to Matty Wagner, and Wags is looking to the bottom side of Wayne Campbell.
I don't think he has enough space to get it done on this lap, but we see Wayne Campbell get close to the wall there, and Matt Wagner is going to keep on that bottom line there. Stouffer now is running that defensive middle line that we were seeing Yingling use earlier on in the race, but laps are winding down really, really fast here, Murph.
Yeah, they are. 5 to go now. Larry Yingling, Ryan Kelly, they are 1-2. This race is going to be over in less than a minute when they hit the line. Larry Yingling, Ryan Kelly, they're dueling for the lead. Wayne Campbell, Matt Wagner, Chris Stouffer. Big crash. Campbell, Wagner to the bottom. Chris Stouffer continues on. No yellow. Stouffer is minus a wing. Richie Hearn goes into third. Joseph Morales is going to go to fourth.
Yeah, very unfortunate there. Stouffer was running that defensive middle line there, and Wayne Campbell tried to sneak underneath and just tag the left rear.
Meanwhile, we're going to stay with the leaders now, because that is the battle that we're going to watch. Stouffer has the meatball.
Right,
we've got a caution.
Caution is out.
Caution is on the speedway, and we're going to have a finish under the yellow light. Wayne Campbell has gone around. And so this is damage from the earlier incident with Wayne Campbell. He's missing the rear wing, and he's just trying to limp the thing home, get what he can get, and he gets down into turn 3, and that's no fun when you don't have that's no fun when the rear wing is only connected by the tether. But we've got to really go back quite a bit to show you how all this unfolded. So this is the battle for third. Stouffer is third, Campbell is fourth, Matt Wagner is fifth. And here's the incident that you were talking about, Andrew. Wayne Campbell is going to stick this thing in on Chris Stouffer, and now I don't know if he loses the nose a little bit or if Stouffer comes down. Just a little bit of contact. Around they go. Stouffer almost gets away with it. Wagner and Campbell make hard contact with each other, and both of them hit the inside wall. They're going to get it pointed back in the right direction. And then Wayne Campbell, he knows the car's hurt, Andrew, but he doesn't know how bad, and he's just trying to make it home, and, well, around it goes.
Yes, Wayne Campbell had front and rear wing damage there, so he just got going and tried to keep it really slow, and then eventually he's going to lose it in 3 and 4, and it almost kind of looked like he may have been trying to get to the pit road, but he didn't quite make it there. Touched the apron and around the car went. So there's your caution. And, yep, it's going to be a win for Larry Yingling. Back-to-back race wins here. And he went his first race win last time around, and now here comes number 2.
When it rains, it pours. Get out your umbrellas for Larry Yingling. He's going to be tonight's winner at Area 51 from Richmond. Ryan Kelly comes home second, and Richie Hearn is going to round out your podium. How about Joseph Morales? Joseph Morales is going to come home fourth, and Kurt Rose, an unlikely top 5 for the 0-5. We saw him nose the car in the wall. Matter of fact, Richie Hearn and Kurt Rose both made severe contact with the inside wall on the backstretch. Both of them bringing home in the top 5 after great recoveries. Frank Irwin Jr., Jeff Heisong, Craig Forsyth, Chris Stouffer, and Kyle Clinworth are going to round out your top 10. And for Clindy, he's got to be breathing a sigh of relief, Andrew. He was able to at least salvage a top 10 and get out of here with some limited damage.
Clendy didn't qualify as well probably as he would have liked, but it didn't really hurt him too much. He was damaged at the back of the field, but he brought himself back up towards the top 10, and that's a great points day for our points leader.
Most certainly so. The field is rounded out by Matt Wagner, Bill Burrell, Wayne Campbell, Jim Herrick, Nicholas Stockner, and Gary Lovern. I wonder how surprised Richie Hearn is going to be when we pull him up here. Definitely not somebody who probably expected to be staying on the podium, Andrew, but he's on the podium nonetheless. We'll see if we can't get him. Into the human examination room. Richie Hearn, you've got Murph, you've got Andrew Wood in the P1 broadcasting booth. You got a copy?
Oh yeah.
So how surprised are you to be standing on the podium? First of all, we got to ask you that, and then we also need to know exactly how colorful the language was from Chris Stouffer when he went around there at the end to lose the third spot.
Yeah, I was surprised. I was destined to finish 6th there. I didn't really have anything for them, and I was trying my best, and those guys got together and seas parted, and hey, here I am. And unfortunately for Chris, he was just disappointed. He's going to go have a cocktail.
We're all about the cocktails there, Richie. Let's talk about strategy of this race. How do you get yourself onto a good strategy here, Richmond, especially when you can always expect there to be a lot of cautions? Is there a time in the race where you feel like you need to make your pit stop to put yourself in the best spot that other drivers are going to pit as well?
Well, unfortunately, when I did that little spin and put me in the back, I broke my front wing, so I had to pit and kind of put me in a hard spot. And really, just that one yellow happened with I don't know how many laps, but it made it a one stopper. And there was really not much strategy, but it was so hard to pass that you kind of just were stuck where you were at. And yeah, it wasn't really much more than that.
Well, you did make your way back up. You were destined to finish third, not sixth. And so here you are holding the bronze medal, my friend. Thank you so much for stopping in, stopping by. Friends, family, sponsors, shout outs. The floor is yours.
Yeah, it's always good to be on the podium, but obviously got to thank Jim Herrick, our team owner guy with 4D Racewear, and yeah, I was pretty happy. No, except for my little spin, and I got a couple of friends, Vinny and Peyton, watching, and that's really about it. So you guys do a great job. I can't wait to watch it tomorrow.
Absolutely, Richie. Well, thank you so much for your time, my man. Keep going fast, having fun, and we're going to see you at the next one. You hear?
Absolutely.
That is Richie Hearn. We'll get him back with the 40 Racewear team, and we're going to bring up Ryan Kelly, who is the second place finisher tonight. Ryan, you've got Murph and you've got Andrew Wood in the P1 broadcasting booth. You hear us?
I got you.
So you run second to teammate Larry Yingling. How hard were you going to push the issue, knowing that Kyle Clinworth had a problem and was probably going to finish in the back half of the top 10 or outside of it? How hard were you willing to push the issue, knowing that you were going to have a really good day in the points?
Yeah, I was definitely thinking about the points there when I saw Kyle getting that accident there, and was doing everything I could to push as hard as I could and be safe. But definitely saw the win there in front of me and really tried to get it. But it was really hard to pass tonight with that dirty air. So, but Larry drove a great race, and yeah, congratulations to him.
Yeah, Ryan, when you took that first pit stop there and you went deep into the field, it looked like Stover got underneath you immediately. And did you have any regrets of trying to maybe jump ahead of the pit stop strategy there and maybe just didn't drive as well in the middle of the pack and just were so used to racing up front that you didn't really necessarily predict that dirty air, or did you think that was just a strategy call to do early on in the race?
Yeah, kind of a little bit of both. I didn't think the dirty air would be as strong as it was, and I thought the tires would be a little stronger than the old tires, but it seemed like track position was the place to be. So I was definitely regretting that after the first couple laps there, went back green. But thankfully, we had a couple cautions there, and I could cycle back to the front, and then yeah, just keep the track position from there.
There you go. Well, track position was kept, Ryan. You bring it home in the second spot. You're going to escape Richmond, and I always say you escape this place, but you're gonna get out of here with the points lead. With that said, friends, family, sponsor, shout outs. The floor is yours.
Yeah, my teammate tonight, Larry. Nice win by him, and you guys putting on the show. All the guys who run the league, and this was a tough one. And looking forward to next week.
Absolutely, Ryan. Well, thank you so much for stopping in, stopping by. Keep going fast. Have fun, buddy. We'll see you at the next one.
Thanks, guys.
Absolutely. That is Ryan Kelly. We're going to go ahead and grab tonight's winner, Larry Yingling. Larry, you've got Murph. You've got Andrew Wood in the P1 broadcasting booth. You hear us?
Yes, sir.
Wire to wire, seemingly easy at times, although I know it wasn't. Andrew Wood's got a question about your line though, because when you go back and watch this race, Andrew had some opinions about the line you were running. So Andrew, talk to Larry about that middle line real quick.
Yeah, Larry, it looked like when you were trying to hold off drivers behind you, it didn't seem like you had the fastest laps going around there, but you had this great defensive line where you just basically stayed in the middle in lane 2 around all sides of the track, and you did it in such a consistent way that no one could really get underneath you. Did you find that was really what your strategy was just defend, or were you just kind of getting used to how the car felt and maybe perhaps playing around with some different tools in the car and everything to get your car to do such a thing?
I pretty much knew early on that defending was definitely going to be my strategy. I don't know how long into the race, but when Kyle caught me, I'm like, geez, this dude's fast. And I'm barely hanging on to keep second, especially Ryan first. those two are battling for the title. So I wanted to try my best to hold them off. And really, as weird as it is to say, my stock car experience, a lot of people call me the Ryan Newman of stock cars on here, because I will be the person you do not want to get stuck behind at times. And that was the first time I've ever fully defended in these cars. And it was definitely sketchy, but the more I got more comfortable throughout the race, especially when Ryan was closing in up late in the race, I was being less of a wimp on the throttle, especially off of 4, and that definitely helps get some speed.
Well, that definitely explains why all of a sudden, like for the last 25 laps of the race or so, you were definitely doing a lot more optimal line. All of a sudden, it's like you found something and you're running more optimally, and then pretty much closing off any opportunity for any driver to get underneath you. So that's why I noticed that it was defensive for the first about 140 laps or so, or whenever you got someone fast behind you, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, I know what that bottom line's like now, and I'm going to keep running that.
Yeah, and early in the race when I was shocked that everybody was, at least I believe everybody in my mirror was running the fence. I'm like, okay. Then I started going up top, and I thought dirty air would have been enough to just keep him behind, and that was not the case. And I didn't really feel comfortable entering that high in these cars yet. And I found just barely hang on to Kyle. A good line, and I knew if I just hit my marks, it would be pretty difficult to pass. And I told Ryan sometime in the race, don't let the guy behind you to your outside no matter what. And even like I think second run, when Kyle was still behind me, I started running the bottom, and I was pulling away from him. I don't know if he got on the wall or not. I think he did later in the race, but that second run, I thought the bottom line was the fastest, and the next restart, it was not the fastest. I was just confused half of the race.
I spend most of my time in these cars, Larry, confused. So no shame in that. This track very similar to Iowa. You've won back-to-back short track races. You gained a ton of points on the championship deal. You're going to be 30 some odd behind once this is all said and done. Ryan takes the points lead. What are you thinking as you get down to the final 4 races? We're going to go back to the speedways, Charlotte and Indianapolis. Then you've got another kind of short track in Dover, and then Gateway, which is its own unique beast. Do you think you can build a run toward an IndyCar title here in Area 51?
I would hope. That's something that I never would have thought I was going to say. I think really just this whole season. I mean, last season I was hoping top 15s every race, and really this season, and hasn't changed yet to just top 10. I'm fine. Whatever happens, happens. I know Ryan and Kyle, they're definitely in the class. I was definitely lucky tonight. You can put me down as a clean air merchant tonight, because if I got stuck behind somebody, there was no way I was winning tonight.
Well, you kept the clean air. You come home with the trophy. Congratulations on the big win. Friends, family, sponsor, shout-outs. The floor is yours. You've got it, my man.
Definitely my teammate this race, Ryan Kelly, and my sponsor, Port City Cards on Instagram. Shout out to you guys for the broadcast as always. And I forget what track you just said was Nick. I think Charlotte. I love that track. I do gotta work on my super speedway speed in this car, but if I can somehow do decent on short tracks, I should be pretty good.
There you go, Larry. Well, thank you so much for stopping in. Keep going fast and having fun, buddy. And we're going to see you at the next one. You hear?
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. That's Larry Yingling. He is tonight's winner here at Richmond. Andrew, kind of almost an odd Richmond race, but it turned out that we got some pretty good battling. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think definitely when you get into a situation like Richmond, everything is kind of up in the air. That's the time where you just pretty much throw any sort of regular strategy out the window, and I think we had a little bit of everything tonight, Murph. We had pit strategy, we had cautions, we had a lot of good racing with cars running multiple lines, and I don't think you can ask for anything much more than that.
No, you really can't. Tonight was when I say it was odd, normally you cannot pass here, and tonight we saw plenty of side-by-side action. We saw guys going to the back, going to the front. We saw different pit strategies, and again, all the things that we really love about these races. Speaking of these races, we've got a bunch more coming your way tomorrow night. It's going to be the Horizon IndyCar Series from Homestead. They're going to go at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard. It'll be myself and the wreck, Ryan Eric King, taking on that one. Thursday night, we'll have the AMA Outland Custom Arms Grand National Series, 8:20 pre-race, 8:35 start. Friday, it's the AMA Archway Industrial Coatings Truck Series. Same time right here on P1. Saturday, it's the IndyCar iRacing Series presented by 40 Racewear from Long Beach. Round 5, 2 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. Sunday night, the Dark Horse DW12 Series presented by 40 Racewear. They're going to go from Texas. We do want to thank everybody who stayed with us, tuned it in this evening. We want to thank all the drivers and the competitors, their fans and friends for supporting the series. They're the ones that put on the show, but we want to thank the people who really make the show possible. The military, the police, the firemen, the EMTs driving the ambulance. And Andrew Wood, I really love the nurses that unload you when they get you there. From the bottom of our hearts, we thank you all, and we will see you tomorrow night, Horizon, 8 o'clock on P1.
Strap in, feel the hum in your hands. This is 4D. Heat on my palms, grip locked, heart racing. Shoes hit the pedal, whole room shaking. Jersey on my back, hat pulled low and blazing. Every turn I take, got the ghosts I'm chasing. 4D in my veins, feel that fire when I play, when I move, when I break, when I bang through the lane. 4D on my skin, when I lose, when I win, I'm alive in the light of the game I'm in. 4D, 4D, 4D. It's different. Yeah. That's winning. Grit in my voice, baseline under my breath, glove print stamp